Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So, I think I'm actually on time this month with the monthly wrap up. This one is going to be for May, and I read a total of, I have my stats written down over here by the way, so that's why I'm looking down, but I read a total of 10 books, 3 of those are manga, 5 of them were ebooks, one of those being an ARC as well, although one of them I will be showing off as a physical copy. It's just because it's a special edition, so I read it as an ebook instead of reading my very stunning gorgeous copy and then, because I'm clumsy, ruining it basically. So we got some stuff to talk about for sure. I will make sure to leave links to all of the books in the description box down below if you want to go check them out, because I know that my summaries sometimes get a little bit chaotic, a little bit all over the place, and I might say things in a weird way as well. So if you're struggling to understand anything, I don't blame you, but there are links to the books in the description box. Anyway, let's get started. I think we actually have 2 book club picks and a read-along book. 2 read-along books, because I finished some books that I kind of stopped reading. I did a readathon. The readathon will be up on the channel at some point. It just takes me a little bit of time to edit them because they're very, very long to edit, or they take a long time to edit. But I had this I wanted to finish a lot of the books that I just kind of dropped in the middle of reading them. I don't know why I do that, but I do that sometimes. And so got a couple of those, but also books like This Woven Kingdom, which was one of our primary picks in the book club. This is a YA fantasy with romance, and it's by Tahereh Mafi. It's about a long-lost heir to the Jinn kingdom who has basically ended up as a servant in the new kingdom. Like, the conquerors are, they're not called king though, are they? He's called crown prince. Oh, never mind, they are called king, okay. But she's ended up as a servant in this kingdom, and then one thing leads to another. Somehow she gets in contact with the crown prince as well. He's very taken with her, but there's a prophecy hanging over their heads that foresees the death of the king, the current king, who is the crown prince's grandfather. And it's just a little bit messy. They know it's going to be the Jinn heir, but they don't know who it is. However, she has eyes as well that change colors, so they're very telling. They can definitely figure out. She's also got her face covered at all times as well to hide her eyes, but the crown prince might end up seeing those eyes a little bit, and he's like, I can't hurt her. I can't do it. So he's very, very taken with her. But anyway, and his grandfather, the king, is obviously we need her to get caught and killed. It's a bit messy at the start. It's the first one in a longer series as well, so pacing wise there's a lot of descriptions and a lot of information and stuff, so it was a little bit slow at times, but I really did enjoy this. It was very flowy, I think. For me personally, at least, I really enjoyed it in that way. Although I'm still confused about certain things like the devil. What's going on with that? I don't know. How? I still don't understand. But I'm very excited to see where this series goes. I did enjoy this quite a lot, so just, there were certain points in the book that you just kind of have to get past, if you get what I mean. But overall, I would say it was pretty, a pleasant experience, and also it takes place in some, I don't actually know, is it inspired by Persia? Is that what it's called, Persia? Wait, I don't know how to pronounce that name, and I just realized, which is kind of awkward, but I literally do know. I've only seen it ever written down, so I've never heard anybody say it. Anyway, struggles of being bilingual. I think it's inspired by somewhere around that area, at least. So a bit of a different setting to what I've been reading a lot of lately, and it was lovely. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Another one I think was a secondary pick, not a primary pick, was Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. My voice, thank you. Which is an adult fantasy with, I want to say, horror as well, but they really find it scary. I don't know. I think it's listed as horror though. So we follow okay, this is gonna be a little bit messy. We follow a girl, but that's because it's confusing in the book. Okay. We follow a girl, she's or a woman I should say, she's in her 20s I think, who has been kind of living loosely with her brother. Their parents are gone and they're trying to just get by essentially, but it's a struggle. Her brother goes to school as well, so she's basically just trying to take care of her brother while making a very, very bad living for herself as well. And then she keeps dreaming of this house, this Starling House. So she goes there one day. There is a guy there whose name is something Starling. He's the current owner of the house. He took over after his parents died. And they're having a moment at the gate, and then he ends up offering her a job, and she takes it. But there's also this group of other people that really want information on this house because this house has a weird backstory. A lot of strange things has happened in this house. A lot of like people coming and going, people dying. It just has a weird vibe. There's something about the origins of the house as well that's kind of strange. So they want information on this house, and they offer our lead girl money to get them information on the house while she's working there. And it's very odd, but she kept dreaming of this house, and it basically called to her, so she showed up, and things got stranger from there, essentially. The house is a bit sentient as well, so if that's your thing, if you want to read something with that, it was cool. But I will say I was really into the first like 1/3 of the book, I remember. So I read this a while ago. I think I started it in January, and then I decided to finish it in May. So there's quite a gap in between reading the first half and the second half. And I remember being very, very into the first 1/3 of it, so the first 100 pages, because I think it's about 300 total, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, about 300 total. And then it just kind of fell off a little bit. I think I got annoyed with the interference from this other group of people. I don't really know why. It just, at the moment, I was just like, oh, it's gonna be like that kind of story. And then also towards the end, everything got very abstract. And then there was a whole chapter with just info dumping or like backstory dumping, and I just don't really love that. I want little tidbits of information now and then I can keep track of it myself and then come to the conclusion myself as well. That's how I like information relayed. I don't like it all in just like one chapter thrown at you. So I was a little bit bothered with that as well. But yeah, not the most impressive book. I don't know how else to say it, but I did like parts of it though. Also, this is the Illumicrate edition. Same counts for The Swollen Kingdom, but I did actually read this one. So I just don't love doing that with my special editions. I am a clumsy person. I will never drop my books, but there's a chance that I might. I actually spilled water on The Hunting Moon, which I didn't read, but I accidentally, oh, I should probably get that off my shelves as well, because we're gonna talk about that. Hold on a minute, because see, I spilled water on it. Yeah, so don't trust me with pretty things. I break them apparently, but that sounded quite sad. It was not meant to sound so sad. What the heck? I did read The Hunting Moon, so I am very set on continuing series that I have started because I am reading so many series. I made a video recently and it turned out that it's like 79. I think it might actually be 80, not 79. Like it's a lot. So we're just trying to, you know, continue series essentially and not start new ones unless they're with the book club. And so The Hunting Moon, I got an arc of, I think I actually also had an arc of The Luminaries. I enjoyed The Luminaries a lot. The Hunting Moon though gave me nothing new. So this is a YA fantasy. We follow Winnie Wednesday. Yes, that is her name. I think it's actually Winnie Wednesday or something like that. Kind of unfortunate, but anyway. And at least in the first book, she has been exiled by the community that she's living among. So that counts for her, but also her brother and her mom, because her father has been involved in something that he's not supposed to be involved in. And it's basically resulted in the whole family being exiled and her father's on the run. Don't know where he is. And so they live in this community that train their people to both get rid of like dead bodies in the forest, but also hunt nightmares that are like walking around the forest, flying around, monsters essentially. And so Winnie is thinking about this, like, how can I get my family back into the community and like accept it back into it? And she comes to the conclusion that the best way is for her to partake in these trials so that she can become one of the hunters, the ones who actually hunt down monsters. And so she sets out to do this. She gets help from one of her friends, one of the people that were friends with her before her family got exiled. His name is Jay. And the two of them have a little bit of a thing as well. It's not really, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in this book either. But it's a bit more in your face in this one than in the first one. But my problem with this is that there's this thing like looming over the story in the first one. It's obviously mostly about her getting her family back into the community. So her going through the trials, and that is fine. We know why her family's exiled. We know why, sort of at least, why her parent or her father's on the run. Like, we know why, but they don't really delve into it in that one. They don't really do that a whole lot in this one, although Winnie is searching for information that her father left behind. But there's this other thing going on as well, because there's a werewolf and there's like certain things left here and there by a person as well that she comes across. Not the person, but the little like hints. Not her father. Well, is it her father? It's fine. Might be a little bit of both, but like the conclusion of that is solved in this one. The thing is, you already know. Like, that's the whole climax in this one, is figuring out those two other questions, but like, or the answer to those two questions, like who's doing this and the werewolf situation. But like, you already know after reading the first one. So I feel like this was just Winnie coming across a little bit as like not like the other girls and saying how much she struggles to party and then just getting questions answered that you already had the answer to. But you're not really raising new questions either. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I just got nothing new from this because I already knew. I'd already known for like before I even started the book how it was gonna end. It's kind of strange. So a little bit disappointed with this, but we'll see. I still want to read the third one. I think it's a trilogy, so we'll see how it goes. Want some answers to what the heck is going on with her dad, because I still don't know. After 2 books, I still don't know. But yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the 3 manga that I read as well. Oh wait, no. I didn't read 3 manga. I read a whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've read 8 volumes of Berserk. So I'm borrowing these from my brother. He has the other ones that I read, but I just wanted to still borrow these for the video so that I could show off to you. You're welcome. See, they are beautiful. But this is manga. It's kind of like horror, adventure, action, fantasy. We follow a guy his name is Guts, and he is known as the Black Swordsman. He runs around with like this like huge sword, and he's basically fighting monsters and also wants revenge on someone who betrayed him and some of his friends. So I started this right after I moved into this apartment actually, and so it's been a while since I read the first 2 volumes. Bit of a funny experience because you get the whole setup laid out for you in the first 2 volumes, and then in volume 3, which is the first one I read in May, you take off from there's the flashback situation, and then you get to know how Guts even became who he is when you start out in volume 1 and 2. And so I kind of forgotten all that happened in volume 1 and 2, and I'm like, can't remember anything at all. And so I'm constantly like, this person seems off. I don't like this situation. I don't know. But it's okay to tell you, like, that person that seems off, he's gonna betray them because you already know in volume 1, but I just can't remember. But I'm constantly like, oh, I don't love this. No, Guts, get away from him. But yeah, it's fun. It's I will say it's very masculine, if you will. Like Guts is, it's definitely not necessarily, how would you, I hate like this whole, it's geared towards women, it's geared towards men. I hate that because what does that even mean? But this is definitely a little bit more like dudes reading, if you will. Funny though. I just saw some people complain a little bit about it. So I'm like, I kind of see what you mean, but at the same time, I hate saying like, this is a game for guys, like Counter-Strike is only for dudes. Like, no, the world doesn't work that way. But it is a bit more masculine, if you will. Also very graphic, both with the fighting scenes, like a lot of chopped off heads, both whole, but also have a lot of stuff coming out of stomachs, a little bit of nudity here and there, but it's Japanese, so certain things are censored, which is actually quite nice. But also a lot of feeling in these as well, like a little bit more depth to them than I thought there would be after the first 2 volumes. So I'm super excited to continue the series. I will say, if you love like from Soft Games, these are a huge inspiration to the creator of those games, and that's basically why I started reading the series, because I know that they are, and I want more of like that FromSoft vibe. As someone who plays computer games, I like to, if I can get it both through the games and also through books, I'm happy. So I want a little bit more of that vibe, and definitely getting that from this like clear, very clear inspiration taken from the series. So that's super cool. Just wanted to note in case you're curious. But yeah, if you don't like if you don't like guts, don't read it. But if you like action and huge swords, I'm gonna try to see if I can find like, it's actually humongous. It's so funny. It looks so funny, but like, I'm just gonna go with it, you know? Like, it's fine. Like, this doesn't really do it justice. It's much bigger than that. Sounds like it. Please don't take this out of context, because, well, honey, no. Ooh, one of the things they did in one of these volumes, I was like, I couldn't stop. It's like, I couldn't stop reading. I was so nervous, and now I'm still nervous in the aftermath. Like, how are they gonna... I'm so nervous. I am so nervous. Okay. So, oh, I hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube. But like, this is his sword. Ignore this situation up here. But it's a huge sword. It's quite funny, right? It's quite funny. And we're just going with it. You can actually find that sword in Elden Ring, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I did a playthrough with it. Oh gosh, I could do a whole video talking about video games, but we're not gonna do that. We got 5 more books to go through, so let's get to it. I did start... Okay, so one book that I kind of read on a whim. I read this one before I did the series video, so I will excuse myself, but also I was just very drawn towards it that day. Like, I was just like, kind of need to read it, because I use Libby. So you can set yourself up with Libby if you live in Denmark, by the way, just in case you did not know. It's super easy. You just use your CPR number, because that's how we have the library set up. It's through our personal numbers. I set, or how do you say this? I put The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli. I don't know if that's how their name is pronounced, but I put that on hold a while ago, and then I got a notification that said that I got access to it. And I was like, oh, I can't, I have to read it. I was so in the moment, I was like, this is what I want to read. So I decided to do it, and I think I binged it over 2 days or something. It was so good. It was so good. YA fantasy romance, a little bit like romantasy, if you will, but YA, so no spice, no steam necessarily, a little bit of tension, something vaguely written. You know, YA. We wanted no spice. But it's just that often when I talk about romantasy, in my head I'm like, that means there's spice in it, but I'm trying to use romantasy in YA as well. My voice is not doing its thing today. We're just gonna ignore it. But anyway, would definitely consider The Crimson Moth YA romantasy. So we follow a girl she's a witch, and she is not allowed to be. So she lives in this part of the world where they have banned witches and magic, and there are literally witch hunters that are hunting down witches to kill them and burn them because they are not allowed to exist. So her job, though, she's taken it upon herself to free witches that are caught, that are meant to be burned, because those are her people and she cares a lot about them, so she wants to free them. She doesn't think they deserve to get killed just because they're born a certain way, which I respect. Okay. And so she needs some information, some intel on this current witch that she's trying to free. And so she decides, kind of actually gets pointed towards him by someone else, now that I think of it. It wasn't her decision alone, but anyway, there's this guy called Gideon who is a witch hunter. It's also our lead girl's friend's big brother, which is important. There's a little bit of a mess because the friend kind of likes our lead girl a little bit, but now she's like, she's only seeing him as a friend, by the way, but she's very like, I'm gonna date Gideon so that he can see that I'm not a witch, and I'm gonna get information on all of this, on how to basically, like, information she can use to free this witch that is currently held captive. And so it's a bit of like because at the same time, this witch who is freeing witches is known as the Crimson Moth. The witch hunters are on the hunt for the Crimson Moth, but they don't know who the Crimson Moth is. And Gideon especially is very set on finding out who it is. He's got his eyes on our lead girl. So he's like, I'm gonna get close to her so I can find out if she's the Crimson Moth. Meanwhile, she's like, I'm gonna get close to him so I can get information on how to free this witch. They're both kind of like, yeah, so they're fake dating with a, well, are they dating? They're not really fake dating. They're dating with a purpose, but the purpose is not to be happy. It's to basically use each other. And it's quite funny. They're falling for each other in the process. And there's a lot of tension, and I really liked it. So I feel like I butchered that summary, but hopefully it makes sense to like 10 of you out there. It was really cool though. I really liked it. I liked how it was set up. I liked the little tidbits of information. I feel like I kind of figured out something fairly quickly that had to do with the plot, but which I'm very proud of myself for, but I don't really know if it was like in your face either. Like, I don't know if it was very easy to tell. You know, sometimes when you're reading like mysteries and you're like, oh, I picked up on this plot point, but then you feel super smart about it because like, oh my gosh, I am so clever. Look at me solving mysteries, but like everyone else also did. So it's just, yeah, it's probably one of those things. But anyway, I had a fun time with it. I had a good time with it. Binged it. Basically didn't want to, I'm reading a lot on my bed, lying down on my side to spare my spine, and basically didn't want to leave bed, which, I mean, fair enough, because it's nice to just lie in bed. But anyway, had issues telling myself to stop reading. Lost a little bit of sleep because of it too. Probably not a good thing, but it was good. It was really, really good. So gave it 4.5. Yeah. Then I have 2 romantasy books as well, and then a last romance book. But I read A Court This Cruel and Lovely. I'm sorry, I cannot. Where's my phone? It's by Stacia Stark. Okay. So romantasy, which is a fantasy with a very, very heavy romance plot to the point where the book doesn't really make sense without the romance. Like, if you take it out, does the plot still work? And I feel like it doesn't really. So I'm gonna call it romantasy. We follow a girl who has powers that, again, she's not supposed to have, and she ends up on the run. Her family knows she has powers, by the way. And her mother, or was it her grandmother, ends up basically sacrificing themselves so that our girl can run off and be safe. And so she ends up with this band of mercenaries that find out that she has powers that they can use for this thing that they need to do. They need to get their hands on this item. This, I almost want to call it an artifact. And so when they find out that she has time-stopping powers, they see an opportunity. Especially the leader, who has a bit of an attitude, but also they kind of, like, they bump heads, but it kind of works for them somehow. Like, I don't know, they definitely, there's a vibe, if you get what I mean. A bit of a vibe. And so it's about her training her powers, getting to know her powers a little bit better, and also her and the mercenary leader getting closer, and her running off, and them finding this artifact thing. Also, there's a whole thing with Fae. The Fae, because they are so powerful, so the reason that magic is forbidden is because it has to do with the Fae. People who have powers are basically part Fae. Magic comes from the Fae. So the Fae have been hunted and, what would you call that, like banished as well. So there's a whole thing with them. It's a Fae book. And yes, I think I accidentally binged this on the bus to Copenhagen. I wasn't supposed to because it was a read-along book, which means that we split it up into like 4 parts and then read it over the month. But I really enjoyed it. It was very easy to read. And I was very curious about the plot. And I was so bored on the bus. So I was like, I'm gonna stay entertained. One thing led to another. Suddenly I'd read like 50 pages too much. I'm like, oh no, now I can't do my post on it because I already know what's gonna happen in the next part. Like, I can't sit there and like pretend like I don't. And then I was like, I don't know what to read now. Sitting there with my iPad. I didn't want to go through KU because I was sitting next to a guy as well. He already looked at my iPad once because he was reading June. I don't know who the dude is, but okay, he gave me a little bit of anxiety, okay? He was reading June. And then when I took out my iPad, which in a dark bus lights up, and he saw all my covers on the iPad, I'm like, oh no, I'm just gonna click on one quickly and I'm gonna stick to it so I don't have to go out and go through the KU library and find a new one, or my own library, oh no. So yeah, I just decided to stick to it. I'm sorry, book club, but it was either that or just sit and look and stare, essentially. I felt slightly judged by my seatmate. A little bit though. Anyway, just like a tiny bit. But it was really good. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. Another romantasy that I also read in May, another first in the series, which Also a read-along book though, just want to say, but this one was from April and I didn't finish it. It had something to do with my Italy trip and then getting sidetracked by other books. But Spark of the Everflame, and let me just get the author name out, by Penn Cole. I believe this is a book series of 4 books, and the 4th one isn't out yet but will come out in July. And I really, really like this book. So we have our lead girl. There's a lot of like traits that these books have in common. I feel like lead girl has hidden powers and she has to keep them secret from people because she's not allowed to have them, for example. Like a lot of enemies to lovers relationships as well. These romantasy books on KU oftentimes have stuff in common. I felt like this one stood out a little bit, and I don't really, it might have been the writing, the prose, but it just felt a little bit different. I can't really pinpoint it, but it felt a little bit different. So we follow our lead girl though. She's a healer in a world city. They have this group of people called the Descended who are super beautiful. Like the color combination of their hair and eyes and skin and how they dress, it's just different from mere mortals, if you will. And so they keep to themselves. They're not allowed to have children with the normal people. They also have superpowers and magical abilities and stuff like that. And our lead girl is just a mortal living amongst mortals with healing skills. Like she's very good at healing. Her mother has gone missing. Her mother was also a healer. I say was, but like I say was because our lead girl says was. But her mother has gone missing. So she was a healer as well, and that's why our lead girl actually started becoming a healer too. She used to work at the Royal Palace though, so that's in the area where the Descended live. And after she goes missing, our lead girl has to take over her job, so she becomes one of the healers who goes to the Descended Royal Palace to help them out. They have super healing powers themselves, so like self-healing powers, but sometimes injuries get a little bit too bad and they need other help as well. And so when she's there, she meets the princess. She also meets the crown prince, who is definitely an important character in the story. But another thing is as well, this means she gets an in with the royal palace, so she has to go there quite often. And so her current boyfriend, who's kind of been a friend in the past or something like that, it's not really important, but he kind of sees this as an opportunity because he's a part of this rebel group who wants to bring the Descended down. And so he convinces her to join this rebel group. It's why it's called Spark of the Everflame, by the way, so I feel like it's okay that I say it because the Everflame stuff has to do with the rebel group. But he basically convinces her to join them, and so she has to get information from the royal palace, but is also not really feeling too well about it. It definitely triggers a lot of like contradictory thoughts in her head, if you will, but she's also dealing with other stuff because she has like hallucinations. Like there's a lot going on for her. It was very cool. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to continuing the series. I hope that the next books will be just as good. I think I ended up giving it 4.5, yeah. So like I really, really enjoyed it. It wasn't due to the book that I stopped reading it in April. It was just because it didn't really fit into my other read, like what I was reading alongside it. It just got a little bit too much. Sometimes I like to binge books, but I also have like 4 books running at the same time, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit too much and I just forget one of them, if that makes sense. So, but I'm super excited to continue the series. I've heard that the 3rd book though is like 1,000 pages, so I'm a little bit nervous, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited to see our lead girl's evolution as well, now that certain things have come to light at the end of the 1st book, and also the whole relationship thing. Very, very cool setup and everything, so we'll see where it goes. As for the last book, I finished Twisted Lies by Anna Huang, which means I finished the Twisted series. So I can't remember when I read the first half of this. I think it was one of those again where I started another book and then I just completely forgot to finish this one. But I will say, oh, I should probably tell you what it's about. It's an adult contemporary romance. We follow, not Bridget, what's her name? Stella, who is a social media influencer. She cares about fashion and, you know, stuff like that. She has a current goal to reach 1 million followers on Instagram. So it's a bit about that. And then there's this guy called Christian who is basically obsessed with her. Not in a creepy way, because she also has a stalker, by the way. Major plot point, there's a stalker. But Christian is helping her figure out and catch the stalker while they are also fake dating for her profile to help her reach 1 million subscribers, even though it's a bit dishonest, but I'll excuse it, it's whatever. Also because she can get some extra deals with fashion brands if she comes across happy with a boyfriend. How does that actually work? I feel like that was explained in the book, but now that I'm trying to explain it to you guys, I can't really see why that would be important to the fashion brands. But anyway, Christian is also like one of those guys who's like, I don't believe in love. Okay, and he's a cyber tech genius or something like that. So I will say this is my favorite in the Twisted series. It's definitely Twisted Games. I think I want to put, oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult because I really like Twisted Hate, but there are certain parts of it where I'm like, I don't know. It's the same with this one. Like, I really liked it, but there are certain parts where I felt like it was a little bit long drawn and Christian just gets a little bit annoying to listen to. I'm not gonna lie. And Twisted Love was such a fun time, but there's a serenading scene that I'm like, ugh. It's a little ugh. So I don't know how I want to do my 1 to 4. I feel like it changes every day. I think right now it's at Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, Twisted Lies, Twisted Love, but I don't really know. They're a fun time though. If you like billionaire guys, stunning girls, people might get killed. I don't know. If you like a little bit of that, tension, a lot of tension, dirty talk, smut, and not of the, how do I put this? Not in the, he will not treat you like a princess kind of way. Does that make sense? Like even in Twisted Games where the girl is literally a princess, she's not treated like a princess. Like that kind of. If you like that kind of vibe, you know, Anna Huang does a pretty good job. So if you like those, definitely worth looking into. But if you like the Emily Henry romances, these are not your thing, essentially. And then there are the lucky people like me who like both, who just like to be entertained, know that books have their different purposes. This is not supposed to hit you the same way Emily Henry does. It's supposed to hit you in the way the Twisted series does. If you read them, you know what I mean. So, but it was a good time still. I just... Not my favorite in the series, but like it also takes a lot to top Twisted Games, I think, because that one was just chef's kiss, but a good time nonetheless. And that was the last one. What was that actually total? Because I wrote down 10, but it's 15 because I read 8 manga. Did I count that right? I feel like I didn't. Oh yeah, 15. Anyway. So, we are in for a good reading month here in June as well. I'm looking forward to talking about certain books with you. There'll be an Anna Huang in there as well, which I didn't finish in May, but we'll be finishing it today, so I'm very excited for that. There'll also be some Carissa Broadbent, which I'm super excited to talk about too. But I hope you enjoyed this reading wrap-up though. Again, if you want to check out any of the books, there are links to all of them in the description box down below, both to Amazon but also Waterstones. If you've read any of them, feel free to let me know your thoughts on them down below, whether it's positive or negative. I would love to hear you out. That is all I got for you guys today though, so I hope you all enjoyed this video. Feel free to hit the thumbs up if you did, and if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. But I'm gonna leave you to it now, and I'm gonna go get some food because I'm actually really hungry. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!